Hello, my dear ones. Come in. Settle yourself into a soft chair. Maybe wrap a blanket around your shoulders. Let the world outside drift away for a little while. The sun has set. The day's busy hum is fading. And now it's just us here, with the gentle quiet of evening brushing against the windows. Take a deep breath. Can you feel it? The weight of the day loosening from your shoulders, your hands resting easily in your lap, your feet tucked in or stretched out. Whatever feels right. Let the soft glow of your room and the whisper of the night wrap around you like a warm hug. Here, there is no rush, no noise, just a gentle voice to guide you, a story to carry you to a place where time slows, and your mind can rest. Let your thoughts drift like clouds in a calm sky, and let your heart feel light, safe, and held. So pour yourself a cup of something warm, settle in as the stars begin to peek outside, and listen, just listen. Let the world of imagination and quiet magic slip gently around you. This is your moment, my dear, a cozy pause, and I'm so happy you're here with me tonight. The bell above the post office door chimed softly as the morning breeze slipped inside, carrying the smell of damp paper and old wood. Emma's hands moved quickly sorting envelopes while the sunlight crept across the counter like it was late for work itself. Something small and ordinary shifted in the air, the kind of shift you only notice later. Emma had worked in the little post office for years, long enough for her fingers to know the weight of routine. Letters slid from one pile to another. Stamps pressed down with a gentle thump, names read without thought. She hummed under her breath, a tune her grandmother used to sing while folding laundry. And everything felt safe and familiar, until one envelope caught briefly on the edge of the counter and slid away unnoticed. It was addressed to Mr. Shar, a name that carried weight in the town. Not loud weight, but the quiet kind that made people straighten their backs when they said it. Emma barely glanced at it. She had handled dozens of his letters before. Thick paper, careful handwriting, always sealed tight. She finished her shift with tired feet and a calm heart, unaware that one small mistake had already slipped into the folds of her day. Later that afternoon the phone rang. Once, then again. Emma wiped her hands on her cardigan before answering. The voice on the other end was polite but tight, asking about a letter. Just checking. Nothing alarming at first. She assured him kindly that all deliveries were on schedule. Her voice warm like tea poured just right. Yet when the call ended, a faint unease settled in her chest. By the third call, the warmth drained away. Mr. Shar's words stayed measured, but urgency pressed through them like rain through thin cloth. Emma's fingers began to tremble as she checked the ledger, then the sorting shelves, then the outgoing tray. Her breath grew shallow. The room suddenly felt smaller, the ticking clock louder. She swallowed and smiled at a customer who needed stamps. Even as her thoughts raced, she told herself it was nothing. Letters go astray all the time. They always turn up, tucked into the wrong stack or slipped behind a drawer. Yet something about this letter felt heavier. The way his pauses lingered on the line. The way he asked questions without quite asking them. Emma felt like she was holding a secret she had never agreed to keep. As the afternoon wore on, Emma replayed the morning in her mind. The shuffle of paper, the bell on the door, the sunlight on the counter. She remembered the tiny slide, the whisper of paper moving where it should not have. Her stomach tightened. She did not know what the letter contained, but she knew it mattered. And knowing that without knowing why is a quiet kind of fear. She locked the post office that evening with slower hands, the metal cool beneath her fingers. Outside the street was calm. Children's laughter floated from a nearby yard. Someone watered plants and the earth smelled rich and kind. The world seemed entirely unconcerned with her worry, which somehow made it worse. At home she set the kettle on and sat at the small kitchen table, staring at the steam curling upward. Her thoughts softened then sharpened. She wondered how many lives were nudged by small moments like this. How often tiny slips turned into stories people whispered years later. She felt foolish for worrying and foolish for not worrying enough. A strange in-between that kept her awake. Before bed, she checked her bag once more, then her coat pockets, then the stack of newspapers by the door. Each empty space echoed a little louder. She folded her cardigan carefully, the way her grandmother taught her, slow and neat as if calm could be pressed into the fabric. That night, as the town settled into its gentle breathing and lights blinked off one by one, Emma lay listening to the distant hum of the road. Somewhere a letter was resting where it did not belong, quiet and patient, waiting to be found, or opened, or to change everything without making a sound. Rafiq first noticed it in the way the gate creaked open too slowly that morning. Emma's footsteps paused as if she had forgotten where she was going. The air carried the soft clatter of milk bottles and the call of a distant vendor, yet something in her movement felt out of step, like a song missing its rhythm. Rafiq had lived next door long enough to know Emma's habits, how she waved every morning, how she watered her plants before breakfast, how her smile usually arrived before her words. But that day she barely looked up. Her eyes skimmed the ground, her hands fidgeted with her keys, and she vanished inside as if the world outside had grown too loud. He stood there longer than he meant to, the newspaper tucked under his arm, wondering if he was imagining things. People have quiet days, his mother used to say. Not every silence hides a storm, yet this silence felt deliberate, careful, like something being tucked away. Over the next few days he noticed more. Emma leaving earlier than usual, returning with her shoulders slightly hunched, her laughter thinner when they crossed paths. Once he asked if she was feeling well, and she smiled too quickly, said she was just tired. Her voice kind but distant, like a door closed gently but firmly. Rafiq felt a tug inside him then, the old instinct to protect order, to report what felt wrong before it grew teeth. He had always believed rules were made to keep small towns safe, especially towns like theirs where everyone knew everyone's tea preference and grief history, yet his feet refused to move toward the phone. Something told him this was not the kind of thing that fit neatly into a report. There was weight in Emma's eyes, not guilt exactly, more like worry layered with care, as if she was carrying something fragile that could shatter if named too loudly. Meanwhile, whispers began to travel the town the way they always do, softly and sweetly at first, over cups of tea and across shop counters. Mr. Shah was asking questions again, people said, his voice sharper than usual, his visits to the post office more frequent. Someone mentioned seeing him pacing outside his office late at night, lights burning long after others slept. Rafiq heard these things while buying bread, while waiting for change, while sitting on a bench pretending not to listen. The name Mr. Shah carried a different sound now, edged with impatience, edged with something unfinished. The town did not know what it was missing, only that something was. One afternoon Rafiq saw Emma standing at the corner, staring at the post office door as if it might speak back to her. A bus passed, stirring dust and warm air. She flinched at the sound. And in that moment Rafiq felt a pang of tenderness, like watching a child lost in a crowd. He remembered his own grandmother's words then, about how some troubles are not meant to be dragged into daylight too soon, how watching can sometimes be kinder than acting. Still his chest felt tight. Responsibility and compassion pulling at him from opposite sides. That evening he sat by his window, the smell of lentils cooking drifting through the house, watching Emma's lights flick on and off. He wondered what could trouble a woman like her, careful and honest and rooted in routine. He wondered if doing nothing was a choice he could live with. Across town Mr. Shah ended another phone call with clenched teeth, his patience thinning like old paper. Each delay felt personal now. Their letter mattered more than anyone realized, and the silence around it felt intentional, even threatening. The town sensed it too, the way animals sense weather. Conversations paused when his name came up, eyes exchanged quick looks. People remembered old disagreements, old favors, old grudges that never quite faded, all stirred awake by one missing thing. As night settled, Rafiq stepped outside. The sky stretched wide and quiet. Stars scattered like secrets no one claimed. He listened to the hum of the neighborhood, doors closing, dishes clinking, lives folding into sleep. His gaze drifted to Emma's house, her window glowing soft and steady. He did not report anything that night, nor the next. He chose to watch, to wait, believing that some truths reveal themselves only when given space. And as the moon climbed higher, its pale light resting on roofs and roads alike, the town held its breath gently, unaware that many eyes were now observing, each for their own reason. The morning began with a soft rush of wind that lifted loose papers and carried the smell of fresh bread through the street. Emma stepped out of the post office with a small stack tucked under her arm, her fingers numb from worry. And somewhere between the creak of the door and the chatter of passing bicycles, the letter loosened its hold on her day. She did not feel it fall. That is how such things often happen. The envelope slipped quietly, brushing her coat before landing near the curb. Blending in with fallen leaves and old receipts, Emma walked on, her thoughts heavy and tangled, unaware that her careful grip had failed her at last. A teenage delivery helper came rushing down the lane moments later, earphones dangling around his neck, arms full of parcels, his shoes scuffed and restless. He nearly stepped on the envelope before noticing it. Curiosity tugged at him like an open window. He picked it up, glanced at the name, and frowned. He told himself he would return it properly, after the next delivery, after the next turn. But time slipped the way it always does with the young. At the cafe he stopped for water, setting the letter down beside a stack of menus. The bell on the door chimed cheerfully, and his attention drifted elsewhere. The cafe owner, warm-hearted and permanently distracted, wiped the counter while listening to a customer complain about the price of sugar. She noticed the envelope only because it was in her way. She turned it over. Absent-mindedly, saw the name Mr. Shah, and felt a small spark of interest. Everyone knew Mr. Shah, or thought they did. She tucked the letter behind the register, meaning to hand it over to someone official later, her mind already hopping to the next task. Coffee steamed, cups clinked, voices overlapped, and the letter waited patiently. By afternoon a neighbor wandered in, the kind who noticed everything, who asked gentle questions that felt like nets. Her eyes caught the corner of their envelope. She commented lightly on it, her voice sweet. The cafe owner waved it off, saying it was probably nothing important. But words have a way of opening doors. The neighbor lingered, sipping tea slowly, her imagination stretching. Why would a letter to Mr. Shah be left here? Why would it look so carefully sealed? The idea settled into her thoughts like a pebble in a shoe when the cafe grew quiet. The neighbor offered to take the letter to the post office herself. Such kindness, she said with a smile. The cafe owner agreed gratefully, and just like that, the letter changed hands again. As the neighbor walked home, she felt its weight through her bag, heavier than paper should be. Her mind wandered to old stories, old tensions, words overheard at gatherings. She did not open it, but she imagined what might be inside. An imagination can be louder than truth. Meanwhile, Emma retraced her steps for the third time, her breath shallow, her heart thudding softly. She checked the curb, the cafe window, the bench where she sometimes sat. Panic pressed against her ribs like a trapped bird. She scolded herself gently. Mistakes happen, but this one felt alive. She thought of Mr. Shah's voice, the pauses between his words. She wondered who else might touch the letter before she did, what they might think, what they might say. Her palms grew damp, yet she forced herself to smile at passers-by, carrying her worry quietly. In the cafe, the air smelled of cardamom and warm milk. Chairs scraped softly, conversations thinned, and the absence of the letter went unnoticed. Outside, the street hummed. Life moved easily, unaware of the small object nudging it off balance. That evening, whispers began to form, half-sentences shared between neighbors. A look here, a raised brow there, nothing clear enough to name, yet enough to unsettle. Misunderstandings bloomed gently, watered by curiosity and silence. As dusk settled, lights flickered on one by one. The letter rested now in a different home, tucked away with care and questions. It had not been opened yet, but it had already done its work, shifting thoughts, stirring unease, and somewhere under the spreading night sky, as the town wrapped itself in quiet routines and familiar shadows, the letter lay waiting, like a seed pressed into soil, patient, certain that soon someone would choose to look inside. The morning opened with the soft scrape of chairs and the low murmur of voices. Emma stepped into the cafe as cups clinked and steam curled upward, her coat still smelling faintly of rain. She moved carefully as if sudden steps might scatter her courage, and beneath the comfort of familiar sounds, a quiet urgency tapped at her chest. She asked simple questions at first, the kind that sound harmless, whether a letter had been found, whether anyone had seen an envelope slip from a counter. Her voice stayed gentle, her smile steady, yet her eyes searched every corner. The cafe owner shook her head thoughtfully, then mentioned a neighbor who had offered help, and Emma felt a small chill settle behind her ribs. Outside, the street felt different now, every doorway holding a possibility. Emma walked slowly, greeting people she had known for years, pausing to listen longer than usual. She heard half-stories, unfinished complaints, someone muttering about unpaid dues, another sighing over a deal gone sour, and each word brushed against the name Mr. Shah like a shadow passing over light. She stopped by the stationery shop next, the bell ringing brightly. The owner spoke too freely, as shopkeepers sometimes do, mentioning papers signed in haste, promises made and delayed. Emma nodded politely, her fingers tracing the edge of the counter. She did not ask for details, yet details slipped out anyway, carried on voices that needed somewhere to rest. As she walked on, Emma felt their town revealing itself in pieces, not through grand confessions but through pauses and glances. A man crossing the street to avoid a name, a woman lowering her voice mid-sentence. She realized then that the letter was not just missing, it was connected, woven into old threads of resentment and quiet compromise. Her thoughts grew heavier with each step. She had always believed the town was simple, kind, predictable. Now she wondered how many things she had passed without seeing. How many smiles had carried history beneath them. She felt small against it all, yet also strangely steady, like someone finally hearing the full tune beneath a familiar song. At the edge of the neighborhood she saw Rafiq, standing near his gate. He asked softly if she was all right, concern warming his words. She hesitated, then said she was looking for something misplaced. He nodded as if understanding more than she had said. His silence felt like an offering rather than a question. Emma continued on, their afternoon sun softening the road. She paused near Mr. Shah's office, watching people come and go, noticing the tension in their shoulders. The way conversations ended quickly near the door. She did not enter, but the building itself seemed to hum, holding stories in its walls. By the time evening approached, Emma's feet ached and her heart felt crowded. She had not found the letter, but she had found something else, an awareness that the town carried hidden balances, favors owed, grudges tucked away like old letters never sent. She wondered what her small mistake had stirred. As dusk settled and lamps flickered on, Emma walked home under a sky painted with quiet colors. The air smelled of cooking fires and jasmine. Somewhere the letter continued its silent journey, and as crickets began their evening song, Emma sensed that finding it would mean uncovering far more than she had ever meant to touch. The paper made a soft tearing sound as the teenager eased the envelope open. The room smelled of dust and warm afternoon light, and his heart beat a little faster than it should have for something that was never meant to be his. Curiosity leaned close and whispered that one small look could not hurt anyone. He read quickly at first, then slower, his brow tightening as words about meetings, accounts, and names blurred into something darker in his young mind. He did not understand the careful language or the weight behind it, but he felt the sting of betrayal between the lines, the kind he had seen in films and overheard in angry conversations, and he filled the gaps with his own fears. Someone was being cheated, he decided. Someone trusted had been wronged. And silence now felt like cruelty. His fingers trembled as he folded the paper back, a heavy seriousness settling over him like a borrowed coat. He thought of how adults always say young people do not care, and in that moment he cared too much. He spoke first to a friend, quietly, then another, his voice low but urgent. Words slipped free and changed shape as they traveled. By the time they reached the corner shop, they were no longer about papers and accounts but about secrets and lies. People leaned closer, eyes widening, tongues loosening. The town reacted the way towns often do, softly at first, then all at once. Neighbors paused mid-greeting, glances lingered too long. Someone confronted someone else outside their bakery. Voices rose then fell. Doors closed a little harder than usual. And trust, once smooth and invisible, began to show its seams. Emma felt it before she heard it. The way the air thickened around her. The way her name carried a question when spoken. She sensed ripples moving faster than she could follow. When a woman she knew well avoided her eyes, Emma's stomach dropped. By the time a whisper reached her ear, panic had already wrapped itself around her chest. She learned that a letter had been opened, that stories were being told, that Mr. Shah's name was being spoken with sharp edges. Her thoughts raced ahead of her steps as she hurried through the streets. She found the teenager near the delivery bikes, his shoulders hunched, guilt flickering across his face when he saw her. She spoke gently, softer than she felt, asking what he had seen, what he had said. His words tumbled out in a rush, half apology, half justification. As he spoke, Emma realized how easily meaning bends in the wrong hands, how fragile truth can be when fear colors it. She wanted to scold him, to cry, to rewind time. Instead, she placed a steady hand on his arm, telling him it would be all right, even as she wondered if that was a promise she could keep. She moved quickly then, visiting homes, explaining carefully, asking people to pause, to wait, to breathe. Some listened, some did not. Once spoken, a rumor grows legs. It runs faster than reason. Emma felt every step as a weight, yet she did not stop. Inside her, thoughts tangled tightly. She blamed herself again and again, for the lost letter, for trusting quiet to hold. She remembered her grandmother saying that small choices are like stones dropped into water. You never know how far the circles will travel. The town hummed with unsettled energy. Radios murmured. Kettles boiled untouched. Evening prayers sounded sharper in the air. Familiar streets felt strange, like rooms rearranged in the dark. As night approached, their noise softened but did not disappear. Conversations retreated indoors. Behind curtains and closed doors, Emma finally returned home, her legs aching, her heart sore. She sat at her table and pressed her palms flat, grounding herself in the solidness of wood. Outside, a breeze stirred the trees, carrying away some of the heat, some of the sharpness. The town settled into an easy quiet. The letter lay open somewhere, its words misunderstood, its power newly awake, and as stars emerged one by one, Emma knew the calm ahead would be brief, a pause before paths crossed again. The morning carried a restless energy. Doors opened and closed more often than usual. Footsteps echoed a little louder on the lane, and Emma walked beside Rafik toward the delivery shed, the gravel crunching under their shoes as if announcing that something long delayed was finally moving forward. The teenager stood there fidgeting with a strap, eyes darting between them, the smell of oil and dust hanging in the air. Emma spoke first, her voice calm but firm, asking for the letter, asking for honesty. Rafik stood quietly beside her, his presence steady like a wall that does not need to speak. The boy's words came in fragments, apologies tangled with explanations, fear written plainly on his face. He handed the letter over with shaking hands, relief and shame mingling in his posture. Emma took it carefully, as if it might crumble. She thanked him softly, reminding him that caring without understanding can still wound. As they turned away, Rafik felt a weight lift and another settle. In its place, he wondered how many times good intentions had led him astray in his own life. Watching Emma now, he felt respect deepen into something sturdier, a quiet alliance born not of words but of shared resolve. Across town, Mr. Shah stood in his office staring at the empty space on his desk. Impatience had given way to suspicion. His fingers tapped sharply, his mind retracing conversations, glances, delays. He no longer trusted coincidence. Something was wrong, and he intended to find it himself. He began asking questions, carefully at first, then with growing urgency, visiting familiar faces, listening closely to what was said and what was not. Each answer pointed him toward the post office, toward Emmer, toward the soft ripples of disturbance that had reached even his door. Emmer felt his presence before she saw him. The way tension gathers before a storm, whispers followed his path. Doors opened reluctantly. Alliances shifted subtly. People chose sides without quite naming them. The town's calm surface stretched thin. When their paths finally crossed outside the post office, the air felt charged. Emmer held the letter close, Rafik at her side. Mr. Shah's eyes searched their faces, measuring, calculating. He asked about the delay, about the rumors, his voice controlled but sharp at the edges. Emmer answered honestly, admitting the mistake, explaining the confusion, offering the letter back. Her hands did not tremble now. Something inside her had settled. Rafik watched closely, ready to step in if needed, trust forming between them like a bridge built plank by plank. The letter changed hands once more, and with it, the balance shifted. Mr. Shah's grip tightened. His gaze flickered with something unreadable, relief perhaps, or something darker. Emmer noticed how quickly he tucked it away, how his shoulders eased only slightly. Around them, the town exhaled without realizing it had been holding its breath. Yet the ease was incomplete. Questions lingered, glances exchanged. Some alliances strengthened, others quietly fractured. Trust revealed itself as something fragile and earned. Rafik walked Emmer home later. The street quieter now, birds hopping along the wires. He spoke gently about watching, about waiting. Emma listened, grateful for his steadiness. She realized she was no longer carrying this alone. That night, lights burned late in Mr. Shah's office. Papers rustled. Decisions weighed carefully. Threads drawn tighter, unknowingly pulling others closer. And as the moon climbed and shadows stretched across familiar streets, paths that once ran parallel began to curve inward. The town drifting toward a meeting point it could not yet see, where intentions and consequences would finally face one another. The sound of paper unfolding was soft but final, like a curtain being drawn back. The room smelled of old files and fresh tea, and Emmer stood very still as Mr. Shah read, the rustle of pages filling the space where words had been held too long. The letter did not shout its truth. It spoke carefully, line by line, about numbers that did not add up, meetings held quietly, decisions made in shadows, names of people who had trusted and been ignored. It was not angry. It was precise, and that made it heavier than any accusation. Emmer watched Mr. Shah's face as he read, the tightness around his mouth, the way his fingers paused on certain lines. This letter was not gossip or betrayal of the kind the town had imagined. It was something colder and sharper, a record meant to expose, not wound. Rafik stood near the window, listening more than looking. He felt the air change, like the moment before rain finally falls. He understood then why the town had shifted so easily. Truth unsettles even when it arrives quietly. Mr. Shah spoke at last, his voice lower than usual, explaining that the letter was meant for a legal advisor, that someone within his company had decided to bring hidden dealings into the light. He did not deny it. He only spoke of timing and damage, of things misunderstood. Emma felt her chest tighten, not with relief, but with clarity. All this chaos had not grown from lies, but from truth handled too soon and by too many hands. She thought of their teenager, the neighbors, the cafe owner, none of them wrong at heart, all of them changed by what they thought they knew. As the day went on, pieces fell into place gently. A supplier who had stopped smiling months ago, an employee who left without explanation, a deal that had soured friendships. Motives surfaced not as confessions but as patterns finally noticed. Emma walked through the town afterward with new eyes. She saw where friendships had thinned, where loyalty had cracked. She noticed who stood together now and who avoided one another. The letter had moved through hands, but its true power had moved through hearts. She felt sadness then, a deep and quiet one, for the way small misunderstandings had uncovered larger wounds. She had always believed people were simple, but now she saw they were layered, carrying kindness and fear side by side. Rafiq walked with her, his presence steady. He spoke softly about how watching people react tells you more than watching what they hide. Emma nodded, thinking how trust is shaped not by secrets, but by how we handle them when they surface. In homes across the town, conversations took on new tones. Apologies were offered hesitantly, old grudges named at last. Some relationships mended with careful words, others left fragile and unfinished. The chaos had not been loud, but it had been thorough. That evening, Emma sat by her window, listening to distant laughter and clinking dishes. The town sounded the same, yet felt altered. She realized the letter had not just revealed wrongdoing, it had revealed people. She thought of her grandmother again, of how she used to say that truth is like warm water poured over cold hands. It stings before it soothes. Emma finally understood that sting. Outside, the sky softened into shades of blue and grey. Lights blinked on slowly, one by one, and the town settled into itself again, changed but breathing. As night deepened and quiet wrapped the streets, Emma felt a strange calm. Their letter's secret was no longer hidden, but its consequences were still unfolding, drifting gently toward whatever would come next, like a story not yet finished being told. The hallway outside Mr. Shar's office smelled faintly of Polish and old paper. Footsteps echoed softly as Emma and Rafiq approached, and with every step the air seemed to grow thicker, not with fear this time, but with the quiet weight of things that had already happened and could not be undone. Inside, the room was neat and restrained, sunlight resting politely on the edges of shelves. Mr. Shar looked up as they entered, his expression measured, as if he had been expecting them all along. Emma felt her shoulders straighten, her heart steadying itself like a cup placed carefully on a table. She spoke first, not accusing, not apologetic, simply clear. She asked for the letter, not as something owed to her, but as something that had caused enough wondering already. Rafiq stood beside her, silent but present, his gaze calm, giving the moment a firmness it might otherwise have lacked. Mr. Shar listened, fingers folded, eyes sharp yet tired. He did not argue. Perhaps he had already said all the fighting words he had. He reached into a drawer and brought out the envelope, setting it between them. The paper looked ordinary again, almost harmless. Emma picked it up slowly, feeling the familiar texture beneath her fingertips. Relief washed over her, gentle and surprising. The crisis had felt so large, yet here it was, resting quietly, no longer slipping from hand to hand. Around them, life outside the office continued. Phones rang distantly, a chair scraped, someone laughed too loudly down the corridor. The world did not pause for confrontations, it simply absorbed them and moved on. As they left, Emma noticed the change in Mr. Shar's posture, the way he leaned back once they were gone, the way his breath seemed to leave him all at once. Power did not protect him from consequence, she realized. It only delayed the moment of facing it. Walking back through town, Emma and Rafiq saw the aftermath settling gently, not in shouts or arguments, but in expressions. A shopkeeper smiled wider than usual. Business improved by chance and timing. Another neighbor avoided eye contact, cheeks flushed with remembered words spoken too quickly. Emma passed the cafe where it had all tangled first. The owner nodded warmly, a hint of apology in her eyes. Further down the street, two neighbors stood closer than they had in weeks, united by shared embarrassment and quiet forgiveness. Emma felt a strange mix of comfort and ache. She had wanted things to return to how they were, yet she knew now that returning was impossible. The town had learned something about itself, and learning always leaves marks. In her thoughts, she replayed the small moments, the dropped letter, the opened envelope. The words passed along with good intentions and poor understanding. She wondered how many lives were shaped this way, not by grand decisions, but by ordinary ones made without pause. Rafiq spoke as they walked, gently, about how truth does not always need drama to make itself known. Sometimes it only needs movement. Emma smiled faintly, grateful for his steadiness, grateful she had not walked this alone. As evening settled, the town grew softer, lights glowing behind curtains, the smell of dinners drifting through open windows. Conversations resumed their usual rhythm, though now threaded with a little more care. Emma returned home and placed the letter in a drawer, not hidden, just resting, its journey finished at last. She sat by the window and watched the street. Children chasing shadows, elders pausing to talk longer than usual. She felt the quiet consequences settle around her, not heavy, just present, like the warmth after a long day. Some people had gained, some had learned, some had felt the sting of their own words, and she had learned the cost of silence and the cost of action. Outside, the sky dimmed into a calm blue, a breeze moved the trees gently, and as the town eased itself into night, the sharpest part of the story softened, leaving behind a quieter understanding that would linger, guiding what came next. The morning air felt gentle and still, with sunlight slipping softly between the branches and onto the cobblestone streets. Emma stepped out of her home, her shoes brushing the cool pavement, and the faint scent of baking bread floated from a nearby bakery. It was ordinary and comforting. Yet she felt a quiet awareness stirring beneath the calm, as if something unseen was watching the rhythm of the town. Inside the post office, letters sat neatly in their baskets. The clock ticked in measured time, and the familiar smell of paper, ink, and polished wood wrapped around Emma like a soft blanket. She unpacked parcels with careful hands, letting the routine soothe her. Each envelope a small promise that life continued despite the tremors of the past days. Customers came and went with murmured greetings and warm smiles, some lingering slightly longer. Eyes softened by shared stories and careful attention. Emma noticed small gestures, the way someone hesitated before speaking, or how a hand lingered on a counter as if weighing words, the subtle manners of a town learning patience. At the cafe on the corner, the aroma of roasted coffee and sugar drifted through the open door. Emma paused to look at the neighbors who once whispered in confusion, now speaking gently, acknowledging each other with quiet nods. The ripples of the missing letter's journey had left marks, and the town seemed to be learning to walk carefully around them. She reflected on the teenager, his worried glance as he handed over the letter, and the cafe owner, distracted yet helpful, Rafiq's unwavering support, Mr. Shah's guarded yet weary eyes. She realized how much depended on small choices, and how delicate trust could be. One small misstep could spiral through lives like a thread through fabric. Emma's thoughts wandered further, to her own hands and the way they had released and chased the letter, to the feelings of panic that had sat heavy in her chest. She murmured softly, a thought. Half for herself, half for the world. Mistakes travel farther than we think, and sometimes they bring more than trouble. She walked slowly home with Rafiq later, the sun softening toward evening, shadows stretching long across familiar rooftops. He offered gentle conversation, a lightness to distract her from replaying moments of error, yet Emma felt a subtle chill of unease, a feeling that even though the letter was back, not all eyes had turned away. Inside her home, the scent of jasmine from the garden mingled with the warmth of tea. She let herself sit quietly, reflecting on apologies spoken and unspoken, the kindness that had carried her through tension, and the embarrassment and guilt that had brushed lightly against others. The emotional landscape of the town now gentle but layered. Outside, lamps flickered on one by one, golden lights spilling across doors and windows. Emma felt the calm settle, like soft water around her feet. But a small thread of suspense lingered, a quiet knowing that the story was not yet fully complete. Someone may still be observing, shaping, waiting. As night deepened, crickets sang softly, and the town exhaled after days of quiet upheaval. Emma leaned against the windowsill, looking at the stars emerging one by one, her fingers tracing the grain of the wood, a comforting touch. And somewhere beyond the familiar streets, the smallest hint of curiosity waited, breathing alongside the calm. The office smelled faintly of polished wooden paper, with a hint of coffee lingering in the corners. Emma's fingers brushed over files stacked neatly on the shelves, the soft rustle of paper breaking the quiet like a whisper. And for the first time in days, she felt the calm she had longed for settling around her. She began sorting through folders carefully, placing one on top of another, checking labels, tucking stray papers in order, the familiar rhythm soothing. Yet a small pull of curiosity tugged at her chest. She noticed a folder slightly misaligned, tucked behind heavier files, and reached for it instinctively. The envelope inside was unlike any she had handled before, its paper thick and creamy, sealed carefully, her name written in a precise hand, the handwriting familiar yet impossible to place. A shiver ran along her spine as she realized this was meant for her eyes only. She opened it slowly, letting the quiet stretch around her, and the words inside were not about business, not about accounts or meetings, but about her. Every step she had taken during the missing letter incident, every choice noted with meticulous care, every hesitation, every act of honesty or fear observed. Her heart beat faster as the truth sank in. Someone had been watching, orchestrating, guiding the events she thought were accidents. The letter, the chaos, the town, all part of a larger, unseen plan. She could feel the weight of eyes she had never seen, measuring, testing, evaluating. Rafiq entered then, unaware of what she held. The soft click of the door closing behind him made her jump slightly. She clutched the envelope to her chest, wondering whether to speak, to ask, to share the quiet shock. The room felt smaller, cozy yet charged with an invisible presence. Her thoughts tumbled in a soft rush, fear and fascination mingling. Who would do this? And why? She whispered softly to herself, as if speaking aloud could make sense of it. I've been tested, but by whom? She wondered if her every choice had been leading to this revelation. She remembered the teenager, Mr. Shar, the neighbors, Rafiq, every small decision she had made, and a strange pride mixed with unease. I was honest. I tried to fix things. I did what I could. Yet someone's unseen hand had been tracing her steps all along, guiding her as a gardener guides a young plant, gently but persistently. The room around her seemed to hum with possibility, the smell of old paper deepening, sunlight catching dust motes like tiny stars in the air, the quiet ticking of the clock marking moments that now felt heavier than before. Every sound and shadow seemed alive with meaning. Emma's fingers lingered on the envelope, tracing the edges, feeling the weight of unseen observation. She felt a shiver of connection. The world larger and smaller all at once. Someone had woven her choices into a pattern, subtle but undeniable, and she was at the center without realizing. Rafiq noticed her. Silence, his eyes soft with concern. She offered a small smile, barely speaking, telling him gently, it's nothing to worry about. But he sensed the tremor beneath, the shift in her understanding, the quiet that now held more than ordinary calm. She sat at the desk then, leaning slightly, the envelope resting in front of her, reading again the lines that described her own life in small, careful detail. The room was cozy, safe, yet tinged with a thrill of suspense, a secret kept just out of reach. Outside, the town moved slowly, the sun lowering, casting long warm shadows. Emma felt the familiar hum of life carrying on, yet inside, a subtle game had been revealed, a gentle, unseen hand at work, and she held in her own hands a piece of the quiet, intricate puzzle. The breeze stirred the curtains softly, sunlight fading to gold, and Emma knew the town seemed calm, but underneath, the threads of observation and choice continued to weave, a gentle tension lingering like the promise of a story not yet finished.